Okay guys, few things to go over before the video starts. So make sure you've got a pen and a piece of paper with you so you can take notes if you want to write down any of your formulas and things. Benefit of this being a video is that you can listen to it again. So if there's anything you didn't quite understand or you want to listen to again, you can watch it again. Make sure you do that. So there are going to be activities and things that I want you to be completing. So get ready to pause the video. And as always, make sure you're focusing, avoid those distractions. I always find it really useful to put my phone in another room, okay? So today we're going to be looking at the area of circles and of circle sectors. So last week the work was on circumference of circles and perimeter of sectors, and today it's all about the area, okay? So you all remember the song that I sing you in lesson where circumference equals pi times diameter and the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Okay, so if you want to write that formula down, if you don't remember it, you can write it down now. So area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, those diagrams just go into a bit more detail about why that actually is. So here's an example question then. We've got a circle. It's got a radius of 9, okay? We know that's the radius because it's from one end of the circle to the centre. So the question says calculate the area correct to one decimal place. So pi times 9 squared, let the examiner know that you know the formula, pi times r squared. R is 9, so pi times 9 squared. That gives you the answer, and it wants it to one decimal place, which would give you 254.5 centimetres. Don't forget your squared, okay? Area is always measured in squared units, okay? So, two questions for you to have a go at. We'll look at the first one together. So, this one has got a radius of 6, guys. So, it would be pi times 6 squared, and your final answer would be 113.0 centimetres squared, and that's to one decimal place. So what I'd like you to have a go at now is to look at the question in the green box and to have a go at it. Just a little reminder, that isn't the radius, okay? So the 10 is not the radius. So pause the video and have a go. Okay, so that wasn't the radius, that was the diameter, okay? So to get the radius, you had to divide your 10 by 2 to get a radius of 5. So it's pi times 5 squared. That got you a final answer of 78.5 centimetres squared, and that's to one decimal place. So if you got that, really well done, okay? So, a bit of a progress check for you. This question says, shown below is a circle, a rectangle and a right-angled triangle. Which shape has the greatest area? Now, you know how to work out the area of all of those shapes now, so I'd like you to pause the video and tell me which shape has the greatest area. Make sure you show your work in. Okay, pause now. Okay, so the area of the circle would have been pi times 5 squared, which we worked out in a previous question, which is 78.5 centimetres squared. Shape B is a rectangle, and you should all know that to work out the area of a rectangle is height times base, so it's 12 times 7, which is 84 centimetres squared. And finally, the area of a triangle is height times base divided by 2, so it was 20 times 7 divided by 2 is 70 centimetres squared. Okay, so which one has the greatest area? It was, of course, the rectangle. So if you got that, really well done. Okay, so when you are asked to not use the calculator in the area of a circle question, it will ask you to leave your answer in terms of pi. So this question says, a circle has a radius of 3 centimetres. Work out the area of the circle and leave your answer in terms of pi. So it's pi times 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so your final answer would just be 9 pi. You don't have to do the final calculation, okay? So there's some questions just like that one with no calculator to be used that I'd like you to now have a go at. So if you can pause the video and have a go now. Okay, let's go over some answers. So this is what you should have got, guys. Don't forget it still would be centimetres squared because it's area. So if you didn't quite get any of those, you might want to look at the right answer and see where you made a mistake. So calculate the shaded area for each shape below, okay? So the shaded area. So if we look at that first one in a little bit more detail, what we've actually got here is we've got a square and a circle. So if you look at the square, you know that one of the sides of that square would actually be 16 centimetres because the radius of the circle is 8, so therefore the diameter, which would also be the length of one of the sides, would therefore be 16. So area of a square, height times base, so 16 times 16 gets you 256 centimetres squared. Okay, so that's the area of the square. Then, if you look at the area of the circle, that would be pi times radius squared. The radius is 8, so it's pi times 8 squared. So that area is 201.1 centimetres squared. So to work out the area of the shaded section, all you're actually doing is taking the area of the circle away from the area of the square, and that will give you the space left in between. So it's 256 minus 201.1 gives us the area of the shaded section as 54.9 centimetres squared. Okay? So what I'd like you to do now is to look at question B and C, and I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at B and C, and you're working out the area of the shaded section. Okay? Off you go, pause the video and work out those areas. So if we look at B, guys, the area of the shaded section, all you had to do was work out the area of the big circle, the area of the smaller circle that was inside it, and take the two areas away, which would have got you 125.7 centimetres squared. And then for C, again, area of the big circle, and then take the area of the small circle away from that to leave you with the shaded section. So the big circle would have been pi times 4 squared, because 8 is the diameter, and the small circle would have been pi times 5 squared. Take them away, leaves you with 30.6 centimetres squared. Okay, well done if you got those correct. So below is a semicircle, which is actually a sector of a circle, and it's asking you to work out the area of the shape. Okay, so what we're going to do is just imagine for a second that that is actually a full circle. If that was a full circle, 6 would be the diameter of that circle, so the radius would be 3. Now we know to work out the area of a circle, it's pi times the radius squared, and we know that if this was a full circle, the radius would be 3. So we'd do pi times 3 squared, but we'd need to divide our answer by 2 because this is a semicircle, it's half of a circle. So we have to half our answer. So it's pi times 3 squared divided by 2 gives us an area of 14.14 centimetres squared. Okay? So I would now like you to have a go at working out the area of this quarter circle. So think back to what we did when it was a semicircle, we divided by 2. And what might you do if you were trying to work out the area of this quarter circle? So pause the video now and have a go. We'll go over the answer shortly. Okay, so because this is a quarter circle, okay, what you do is divide your answer by 4. So it would be pi times radius squared divided by 4. Now, if that was a full circle, the 7 would be the radius, so it's pi times 7 squared, divide your answer by 4 because it is only a quarter of a circle, and the answer would be 38.5 centimetres squared. So if you've got that, really, really well done, okay? So here's some questions for you to now have a go at, okay? A and B are very similar to the examples that we've just done. C and E are slightly more difficult. So if you struggle with those ones, don't worry, I will explain in a little bit more detail after you've had a go. Pause now and have a go. Okay guys, here's your answers. So if we do just look at questions C and E for a minute, because these are 3/4 of a circle, okay, all you had to do was pi times radius squared, divide your answer by 4 to get a quarter, times it by 3 to get 3/4. Okay, so if we look at C, you would have done pi times 6 squared, divide your answer by 4, times it by 3, and you would have got 84.8 metres squared. Okay, if you're not really sure with those two, don't worry too much. You might want to pause the video and just recap on what I've said. So this is a sector of a circle, and this specific example is 120 degrees out of a possible 360 degrees that are in a circle. Okay, so when you're working the area of sectors, the angles are very important, and there's just one step extra that we have to do to work out the area. So because we know that we've only got 120 degrees out of a possible 360, we do 120 out of 360, which means to divide. So we do 120 divided by 360, and then your normal formula for the area of a circle. So we times it by pi times the radius squared. Now the radius, if it was a full circle, would be 6. So it's 120 divided by 360 times by pi times by 6 squared. and that gets us an area of that circle sector of 37.7 metres squared. So the extra step is just looking at what angle we've got out of a total of 360. So in this case it was 120, so the extra step was 120 divided by 360. Then you do your times by pi times by the radius squared as you would normally for the area of a circle. Okay? So I'd like you to now pause the video, and there are two now for you to have a go at. So the first one, you've got a circle sector of 30 degrees, okay, and a radius of 18. And for the second one, you've got a circle sector of 80 degrees with a radius of 9. So pause now and have a go at those. Okay, so the answer for the first one, you should have done 30 divided by 360 times by pi times by 18 squared, and you should have got 84.82 centimetres squared. And then for the next one, you should have done 80 divided by 360 times by pi times by 9 squared, and you would have got a circle sector area of 56.55 metres squared. So if we look at that in a bit more detail, that's the exact working out that we did to work that one out. 80 over 360 times pi times 9 squared, okay? So you might want to pause that, guys, look at that working out, see how I managed to get the right answer, just to make yourself a bit more confident. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so here's an example of a bit more of a tricky question. The largest section is the sector in this case. So it tells us that the smaller sector has got an angle of 70 degrees, but it wants you to work out the area of the larger section, okay? So in order to do this, we need to work out how many degrees are in the larger section. And we do that by doing 360 degrees, take away the 70. So the larger sector is actually 290 degrees. So then you do the exact same that we did previously. So you do the angle you've got divided by 360. So 290 divided by 360 times by pi times by the radius, which is 11 squared. And that gives you the larger sector for area of 306.22 centimetres squared. So here are some exam questions. Now, if you're feeling really confident with this topic and you've been getting everything right and you feel really confident, you can have a go at these now. If not, you might want to play the video back and look back at some of the steps that we did before if you're struggling slightly. So if you want to have a go at these now, these exam questions, pause the video and have a go. Okay, so the answers that you should have got, guys, for the first one, it was 6.27 centimetres squared, and for the second one, it was 12.57 centimetres squared. So if you got those, really, really well done, okay? If you didn't quite get the right answers, look at the right answers and see if you can work your way backwards to see where you made a mistake, okay? Now, that's the end of the video. Well done for looking at the video, and if you want to play it back, guys, for a bit more revision or to feel a bit more confident, you can do that, okay? So really well done. And thanks.